Good afternoon, America. My name is John Dennison from missionlaunch.com, and I would like to welcome you to our next broadcast, our current broadcast of Change Yourself, Change Your World. And this is these messages are directed to all those who are feeling an urge to make a difference in the world, to change something about their lives or their world that they believe that will make a difference for them or for others. And believe me, there are a lot of you out there. And I know that this election season is starting to get more and more of you to see that you have something to add to the state of the world you're in. Unfortunately, we really aren't going to see a lot of the benefits of that at this election, of the new people that are awakening. But I would like to speak with you about the issues that you're going to be facing in the months and years ahead, as well as the ones at hand, because it is through these energies and through these situations that we're experiencing now during this election season that are going to be creating these ripples that are going to go forward out into society that we're going to have to deal with as we move forward, regardless of whether it's Trump or Hillary that are elected. But the thing that I would like you to point out is first of all, as an awakening server, and I use this term quite frequently. Awakening server to me is someone who is beginning to see themselves and their lives in a different way. They're all of a sudden they realize that there's more than just the path they've been following, and that there is something inside them that's calling them to add something more. In a sense, you're waking up to new possibilities for what you are or what your world can be. And this is what we're trying to encourage everyone to find this space within themselves, to go within the silence, to begin listening to the whispers of your own soul, so that you will know how to add your contribution in a better way. And when I say a better way, I mean many people that feel that they have a contribution to add or feel like they're called by God to do something, do so less from a place of your inner attributes and more caught up in the ego of who you are or who you think you are or want to become. And it is important that you begin to recognize the difference. That when you know that the voice that's whispering to you inside is somewhere deeper than the ego, because it comes to you without judgment, it comes to you without expectations, it comes to you in a manner that allows you to move forward and choose the method by which you will go forward. Now, the methods that you choose are a reflection of you and where you are and how you come along, how far you've come. And this is really what I wanted to speak about today. It's not about you, but about the situation that we're all finding ourselves in with this election. And I know there are many, or at least hopefully there are many people outside America that are watching this. But in case there aren't, I will make my remarks or address my remarks to my fellow American citizens, because we have an election coming up in less than 2 weeks that is going to set the course of our future for the next few years, and may or may not reverse some of the course that has already been set in motion. Now, as you know, in this election, this is a choice primarily between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, Republican and Democratic nominees. And in this election, we have seen that this is less about the issues and more about the personalities of the individuals involved. If you turn on the news, you read social media, rarely do you hear discussions of the merits of the part of the contestants' policies, even though they may drone on about them and talk about them, other than the fact of the corruption issue that Trump has been talking about the last couple of weeks. We very rarely hear much substance on the policies themselves of the candidates. And that's because everybody's so caught up in the character issues. Okay, let's refresh our memory of the characteristics for those of you that may have somehow been sleeping and just awakened to hear this news. And in this election, 3 weeks ago, in the first debate, Hillary Clinton started a series of attacks based upon the behavior of Trump toward, first with a woman in one of the Miss Universe pageants who had gained 60 pounds in the year that she was Miss Universe queen, because she had stopped. So basically, she was bulimic or anorexic, and had started eating again after the election, so that she had naturally gained all this weight up that she had starved herself not to get, and she won the election as a result. Now, notwithstanding whether that was false actions in terms of getting into this pageant, or a breach of her obligations as the winner. Material at this point, the issue really has to do with Trump's own actions and his actions based toward her, and allegedly toward other women who have come out of the woodwork to make all of these claims that he's such a misogynist, terrible person. And maybe he is. I don't know. Some of those claims have been debunked, and it does appear that the whole thing was carefully crafted and coordinated by Hillary Clinton's campaign. This was apparently the Swift boat that they were talking about, that was actually that they're planning now in the Podesta emails that were released or by WikiLeaks after they had been hacked. But so the issue on the one hand of Trump is his character with regard to women. Okay, fair enough. Then if we talk, and on the other hand, what we have with Hillary Clinton. Well, first, in response to character of women, the Democrats don't want us to see that they've been talking about with Trump, which is the character of Bill Clinton, who has actually been accused by Juanita Broaddrick of having raped him back in the 1980s when he was a governor of Arkansas. Or maybe it was in the early 90s, I'm sorry. And all of his other allegations of sexual misconduct, including leading up to and beyond from the Monica Lewinsky scandal, when he stood at the podium and pointed his finger at the American people and says, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." And he lied. We all know he lied. But he got off the hook. And there have been many, many, many other allegations of Bill Clinton's sexual misconduct, which has been brought into this election in response to what they're talking about Trump. But people don't see on the left, conveniently don't see that, whereas the people that are supporting Trump conveniently overlook the fact of this behavior now that he supposedly had toward women. Now, those two things are bad enough. But then we get into the situation that's been coming out in the news here in the last couple of weeks, and it's been accelerating, which are these WikiLeaks disclosures. Every day there's been another drip of 1,000 or so emails of John Podesta and all the people that had copied him or written notes to him, where they were talking about all the different things that they were doing to conspire to get the election. Well, America, it's okay, I guess, to conspire to win an election. I mean, that's what people do. They plan to get an election. Okay, so we'll give that to them. But the manner in which they went about it reveals a great deal about the inner workings of this political party, the Democrats, and this campaign for Hillary Clinton. But I won't go so far as to suggest that it's exclusive to the Democrats, because in the Podesta emails, they show a history of an ongoing conspiracy to flout the rules and break them where they could, but they knew they couldn't get caught, through the use of consultants, through the use of voter rigging, voter fraud, busing people across state lines, and other horrors to the sense of fair play that we think we have about our system, when in fact our system probably is not that way. This corruption has probably been here forever. It's just that the doors are being thrown open so we can see it now, finally. And what are we seeing? We are seeing that there is a collusion, a conspiracy among certain people to get power. And we see the lengths that they are willing to go to get that power. Sometimes those lengths are illegal. They cross over the boundaries of what the laws are. But as was indicated in the by one of the Democratic operatives in the Project Veritas tapes, they apparently don't care what lengths they go to, and they don't care whether it's legal or ethical. They do what they have to do to win. And it is this idea of winning that I really want to speak with you about. Because this brings back to us in our election season all of the things that were written back in the 1500s for a young prince in northern Italy. I believe his name was Cesare Borgia, but I'm not sure. It could have been one of the others that was written for. But Machiavelli was the name of this advisor who wrote a book advising his prince on how to act and how to gather and maintain and hold on to power. And if any of you have not read The Prince, I highly recommend it, because you will see that this is exactly the format and the model being followed in our political system. The end justifies the means. It doesn't matter what they do. It's okay as long as they win. It's only if they don't win that it's wrong. They don't care whether it's legal. They don't care if it's ethical. They only care that it works. And the penalties that come down upon them if they get caught are usually so small that it's usually at worst they throw one or two people to the wolves, and then they move on and do it all over again and again and again and again. This has been happening for decades here in this country, and I've seen most of them, and it turns your stomach to watch it. But this is what politics has become in our country. It's this attachment to winning, this belief that we have to win, and somehow our identities are wrapped up in the candidates that we have chosen to support. Puts us in really awkward positions when those candidates are not the most moral or most upstanding individuals. I've said for a long time that character matters. And if you're trying to build a better world, I mean, you're an awakening server, that's your job, is to help build that world. Your character matters. So in this election, it's important for you to ask yourself, where you come down on these issues of character. Do you see them as wrong? Do you excuse them? Would you say, well, it's business as usual, or they're all corrupt or whatever? It's okay because it's my side that's doing it, and I'm going to vote for him or her. Or I guess in this situation, it's Hillary. And Hillary Clinton, as you will know if you were reading the emails or reading the accounts of the emails that are coming out to us in the because there's been like 25,000 of them so far. There's no way any one person's going to have read them all, except maybe John Podesta. Is that Hillary had set up a meeting. She had approached the King of Morocco to hold the Clinton Foundation's, some of the Clinton Foundation event there, and to bring this attention to him and to his state and bring all these bigwigs in. But in return for her doing that, and she was supposed to be coming to speak at the event, as well as to have a private meeting with the King of Morocco. And in return for this, he agreed to pay, he was going to funnel to the Clinton Foundation $12 million. $12 million he was kicking into the Clintons so he could get access to Hillary Clinton. Now, she says he never got this access. But Hillary Clinton was a lawyer at one time. She may still have a license, I don't know. But one of the first things I learned when I went to law school, that I've always tried to practice, is that a lawyer must avoid the appearance of impropriety. Hillary Clinton has certainly not avoided the appearance of impropriety. If anything, she's gone just the opposite of it to encourage these donations to the Clinton Foundation, or to hire her husband for speaking gigs at exorbitant sums of money. such as the $500,000 gig he got in Russia as payback for Hillary consenting for the sale of a Canadian investor's stock in U.S. uranium to a Russian firm. Well, this happened to be a very large percentage interest in the U.S. production of uranium, which is one of those critical resources that they obviously want to restrict who can get it. Well, in this case, they turned over 20% of our nation's uranium deposits basically to the Russians because Hillary was receiving these payoffs through Bill for her decision or her part in putting this through. Well, we don't know who else was bought off along the way. They say there were another half a dozen or more department heads that this was run through. But as we're looking at the government here now, the question is, it puts it all in jeopardy because we have to ask, well, who else is on the take? Because our government is clearly corrupted and serving the interests of those with money and power. The Clintons have been ones with money and power and influence, and they have been selling that influence and using that power to enrich themselves. And it's all coming out in the wash in this election. Now, it hasn't come out enough to a point where anybody's ready to make a decision whether they have or have not committed a crime. But the Clintons are smart. It's probably in one of those gray areas that they managed to carve out that says that there's nothing wrong as long as they don't receive personal gain. Of course, if there's personal gain that they receive influence or grant influence as a result of these contributions, these voluntary contributions from other nations, states, and the people and the corporations that want her business or want her to look favorably upon their business, that's okay. Now you can see I get kind of wrapped up in this because I'm trying to maintain some degree of neutrality in here, but it is extremely hard when you see what's going on. It is almost impossible to sit on the sidelines when you see these things bombarding you every day that just bump up against everything that you stand for. And I stand for doing the right thing. I stand for living by the light of your soul, listening to what's going on inside of you and letting it guide you without all of the egos and agendas and self-interests and fears and desires that normally get in the way. But in this situation, all of those things are in the way. And it's very, very hard to listen to what's going on inside when you get caught up in the drumbeat of partisan politics. And in this instance, it's not even partisan politics. It's looking at the function of these people that want our government to run our government for us and say, how can we let this happen? That we get these people that are so corrupt and so dirty to run our government for us. And we know it happens in Congress, and it happens in the different departments of the executive branch, and it even happens in the judiciary to a lesser extent, but nevertheless, it's that influence is still there. And if you are like I am, you're really upset about the whole thing and you don't know what to do. But some people aren't upset. Many people who have come down on the side of Hillary Clinton have pretty much turned a blind eye. They don't want to hear these things. They don't want to think about or consider the fact that the people that they hold in such high regard could be doing something so illegal. So they deny it, they negate it, they marginalize it, they attack the people who are spreading the message, without ever addressing the content of the emails and the sheer fact that it's wrong. Now, I don't want this to sound like I'm coming down on Hillary supporters now, because those who were Republican supporters of Bush were doing the same thing when he was under attack for dragging us into these wars and lying about all the evidence that supposedly had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that led us into the war in the first place. So we've had, and so Republicans came to the defense of their candidate, as if Bush couldn't have done anything wrong. And Democrats have come to the defense of Obama and his policies if they can't do anything wrong, even though he's marching us off to war with Russia. And he's very well nearly getting the world ready to be blown up through their policies in the Middle East, as well as the encirclement of Russia and China. Do you know that that we have gone under we've got a policy now where we are encircling China with anti-ballistic missiles? Now we say that it's just for defensive purposes. Well, what right do we have to go encircle another nation on the belief that they're going to shoot their missiles off at us, so we got to go protect ourselves in advance? Because what that does is causes them to go into an arms race and be more suspicious of us and make it harder for us to work together to deal with these massive problems. But I digress. Again, this is about selling our souls. We humans have a tendency to take sides and then justify our positions later. And I saw this all the time in the law. Not so much to take the side and justify it later, but to take the sides and then try to go find the facts that support your side and negate the ones that don't. I mean, this was our job as lawyers, was to make your client's case look better. You got to look at all the facts, and then you got to bring forth the ones that help your case, and you got to kind of put the lid on the ones that don't. Not so much squelch them, but minimize them. Make it so that they don't carry as much weight to the judge and jury. Well, it's the same thing that's happening here. They're minimizing her behavior because we, the people, are the judge and jury. Again, this isn't meant to be about bashing Hillary and all this stuff that's coming out here. This is about you and your relationship with all of this. Are you okay living in a country where they only give lip service to your democracy, but the leaders on both parties conspire to either skew votes, keep people from getting to the polls, bussing in people that don't belong there and voting for dead people, or disrupting the campaigns of your opponents? You think it's okay? Is it moral? Is it the right thing? Is it the ethical thing to do? And that's going to be a question of your own personal morals, as well as what your soul is telling you inside. But you have to listen very carefully to know whether that soul is being distorted by the ego that's trying to say, of course it's okay. Of course it's okay. You're going to benefit from it. Do it. It's not like that with me. And I don't think it should be like that with you, because the world that you want to build is going to demand more from us. If we want to get to a world beyond these partisan politics, we've got to quit playing them and allowing ourselves to get sucked into their game. There is no way that we're going to build a better world by defeating all of our opponents and ramming down our beliefs on their throats. Yet these culture wars are going on right now. We are seeing two tremendous efforts to shape the future that are going on right now. On the one hand, you have the Islamicists with the Sharia law that they want to spread, that they want to actually immigrate to and build up their population within other nations until they can take over and declare Sharia law there. And this is their stated goal. And on the other hand, you have this, I don't want to use the term globalist because everyone who supports them are not globalists. But they are, the side is one of an interlocking oligarchy combined with a corporatocracy that is controlled by the wealthy to implement policies and rules and structures for international and local relations that serve them, but don't necessarily serve the people. This TPP that is in the news so much is one such example of that, where they're trying to set this set of rules for these trans-Pacific nations to enhance trade between them, but they're imposing such a draconian set of rules that it's resulting in litigation and judgment against nations simply by changing their laws that were hurting the people. But because this TPP says you can't change your law that we've relied on, and if you do change it, then you owe us damages. Well, this isn't anything that the voters of the United States are deciding, either that or through their representatives. This is something that's being negotiated in a trade deal by bureaucrats who are serving whose interests. We look at the government and say, okay, well, our government right now looks to be overrun by the corporate interests. It looks to be overrun by special interests as well, where everybody's vying for a piece of the pie to make sure that their rules will be enacted, that they will get the best chance for success that they can have. You can't blame them for it. But that's what we have in this competitive world where it's dog eat dog. One person wins, another person loses. We'd like it to believe that it's going to be win-win, but at the moment it doesn't seem like it, because they're all playing to win and to make everyone else lose. And in this situation, this global framework that has been established here in the last 50 years by the United States and our European allies has been transferring more and more control over to these international tribunals like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and it is relieving and it is reducing the control and the ability of the individual nation states to handle their own affairs without voting, without any determination by the people. Well, if the people were to say that this is what they want, okay, I guess we'd have to go along with it, but at least we'd have the discussion on it. But right now, we're not even having that discussion. Instead, it's just, okay, turn it over to them, give it to them. And so that the central bankers, the big industrialists, the wealthy elites like George Soros that are trying to influence elections and bring governments to their knees, are all playing the game so that they can win, so that they can get benefit from it. Yet we, the people, are staying here thinking, well, that they're all playing fair in our interest, that they're doing all the right thing because we support them, and they're good people at heart because they say and do all these nice things. Yet when we look at it, how much of Washington is hiding these pedophiles and sexual predators that we're looking at, or the ones that are corrupt or that are being bought off or influenced? But they don't see it as influence because they play the quid pro quo game. You do for me, I do for you. You give to my campaign PAC. You give to my favorite charity. I'll pass this bill for you. Or I'll turn a blind eye to your pollution. Or I won't care. I'll support fracking, even though I know you're poisoning the water and making areas for much of the United States uninhabitable by those who depend upon their local environment for clean water and land and air. Our government has lost its way. It has lost any moral authority that it once had. And I'm not sure that it ever had it, but we at least like to pretend that it has some moral authority, and we're not seeing it. But the problem that each of us have, is that somehow or other we are asked to interact with that game, with that system, and work with it without getting caught up in it or corrupted by it. And this is the very challenge of our new century here in this new millennium. It is incumbent upon we who are called to reshape the collective consciousness and to help those who are unable to help themselves to deal with these situations, and to add contributions that can make things better. It is incumbent upon us to stand up to these influences that want to corrupt us and make us into their pawns to perpetuate that system. Because ultimately, the system that is in place now has to change, or it will come down. If it doesn't change, then it will evolve into something that serves the few even more than it does now. And then the masses will get so upset that they will overthrow it. And it's getting to a point that many people are almost there because of this corruption. I don't want any violence from anyone. I believe in our nation. I believe in the principles upon which it was founded. But I don't believe in the people that are running it. I don't believe in bombing and killing people around the world in the name of in the name of national interest, which really are simply opening the doors for our multinational corporations to come in and loot the countries that we overrun. I don't believe in encircling enemies and building up arms around the world in an effort to prepare for war, because then ultimately those arms are going to have to be used against somebody. And I don't believe in lying and cheating and stealing and taking all this action that is unethical, even if it is legal. Some of it's not legal, but even this unethical practices have to stop. Our leaders, and I use this term very loosely here, they seem to think that it's okay to write laws that leave them loopholes to engage in this wrongful behavior, this unethical behavior, this lack of honesty with themselves, pretending that it's okay to trade off to get what you want. Okay, I give this up and you give this up. Well, yeah, maybe there is some of that in the negotiation process. Obviously, in the direct negotiations, we have to do that to reach compromise. But we don't have to corrupt ourselves in the process. We don't have to sell our souls. And as citizens, we have to become conscious of what they're trying to do within us, of the buttons they're trying to push that are making us do the things they want to do and giving them the power to continue playing these games. It is a very lonely position to be in, trying to draw attention to the ills of our society. But unless someone does, it just is going to keep getting worse. I personally have found that it doesn't matter which side I take or no side at all, I will be attacked by both sides. Because no one wants to hear the truth. They only want to hear that which is convenient and which puts them and their party in the best light. Well, I think we need to shine the light and let everybody see everything, because that's the only way we're going to get the people to face up to the fact that we the people are empowering this. We are the one that's allowing this to happen. Our own moral depravity, which is setting this in motion and allowing it to continue. It's our lack of standards of what we expect of our leaders or even expect of ourselves. I am not suggesting it by any means a morality police or a PC police or a return to the Puritan ethic of days of our forefathers where everyone was expected to live by the same moral code. But I think what we have to learn to do is, in the midst of all this deterioration of the social structure, which has held our moral standards in place. And if you look at it, there has been an attack on the family. There has been an attack on the family unit. There's been an attack on education. There's been an attack on the the morals themselves of our nation, trying to make it seem that everything is okay. But everything isn't conducive to an orderly or a compassionate and loving society, much less a peaceful one. And doing these things at some point has to bump up inside against what's inside of you that knows what's right. Your job, if you're trying to fix this world, is you got to first fix you and make it so that they can't push those buttons, that they cannot cause you to jump in and take sides in their silly game, because it's the game that's the problem. It's not just the people that are doing it and the things that they're doing, but it's the game itself that we've enabled them to play. We, the people, are complicit in this. We restore ourselves to a sense of balance with what we know is right and align our lives with what that voice inside of us is telling us. How can we expect them to do it? How can we go in and even hope to clean up the mess? At this moment, it looks to be a very close election, though Hillary Clinton and her staff are running around crowing that they're going to win in 2 weeks, and maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I can tell you this: if she does win and the Democrats take the Senate, then she will never be held accountable for the things that she's being done, because the impeachment will be impossible, and it's almost impossible to try a sitting president for crimes of any sort. So that won't happen. We've already seen what the FBI and the Justice Department will do, and she's not even president yet. What will she be able to do when they are? Again, maybe you don't care. Maybe you do. Right now, ask yourself, what do you think is right? Do you think what you're seeing coming out of your government and the people that want power is admirable? Are these the kind of people you want your kids to grow up to emulate? Are these the kind of standards that you want to set for yourself or for future generations? Somehow, somewhere, we have to return to some state of moral behavior. And whether that morality comes from within us or is imposed by us by 10 Commandments or some other external source, or by laws that are passed, we then have to choose whether we're going to follow it or whether we're only going to follow those that serve us, that suit us in the moment and are expedient to follow. Well, it's not expedient to believe Wikileaks disclosures about John Podesta, because then you would have to believe that there is a conspiracy of power that will go to no ends, that will stop at no ends to get it. And anybody who gets in their way will die. Look at the WikiLeaks people that have been killed. Hillary, not in office, not in the State Department, not doing anything in the government at the moment, somehow was able to influence Obama to send Joe Biden to meet with the Ecuadorian ambassador to apply pressure. And lo and behold, 24 hours later, Julian Assange's internet access was cut off. Oh, they silenced their critic. The one that Hillary asked, can we drone him? She was in a cabinet, in a cabinet meeting or State Department meeting when she was talking with her aides, and she wanted to launch drones against him to wipe him out. Or the murder of the WikiLeaks lawyer, or the sudden strange death of its director. Now, if you are on the side that WikiLeaks is bad and we should not have these disclosures showing us into what's going on behind the scenes, probably easier for you to make that moral step of saying it's okay to take these people out. But from what it looks like, there has been such a trail of bodies following the Clintons all the way from their days in Arkansas that this is just par for the course. Just like the DNC staffer who was believed to have leaked this email, the DNC records to emails to WikiLeaks that were about that ended up bringing down Debbie Wasserman Schultz. He was killed. Somebody came up behind him in the street, put 3 slugs in him. Didn't rob him, didn't beat him up, didn't take his watch, didn't take his money, just left him there lying on the side of the road. Now, there's no evidence connecting the Clintons to this. There's no evidence connecting anybody to this. Of course, WikiLeaks put up a $20,000 reward for this person who they couldn't confirm was their source. But you don't put up a reward to find out who did it for somebody that you have no contact with whatsoever. You make your own decisions. Is this right, or do you deny it? I don't care which way you come down right now. What I care about is how you justify it inside of you, how you rationalize it with yourself. Can you sleep at night over these decisions, over the way you feel about what's going on in the world, and about how you are either playing along with it and empowering it, or denying it, or even benefiting from it? I have friends that are in the Democratic Party. These are good people. And they just absolutely refuse to believe anything bad about one of their own. And there's really nothing I could say to them to talk to them otherwise, because once that belief is formed, it doesn't matter what the evidence is. They're just going to put that evidence in the, well, let's discount this pile. And they're going to prop up that which supports the way that they already feel. Just like when I said, we find a way to justify the positions that we take. That's human nature. But human nature is what we have to fight. Human nature is what we have to change. It is through the efforts of you, the servers, who are going to be going forward to engage these energies, to engage these thought processes, that you have to figure out how you're going to get them to see without tweaking the attachments that are going to cause them to throw up their walls and fight back. And maybe they can't, maybe they won't. This change of human nature, this shifting of consciousness, isn't something that can happen overnight. This is something that may take a year, it may take 100 years, it may take 1,000 years. And it may never get done. Obviously, human history is replete with instances of violence and cheating and lying and the revisionist history that we read and it's shoveled down our throats in school. That doesn't mean that's the way it is or that's the way it should be. Somehow or other, we've got to get back to the point of doing the right thing, and that regardless of who's in power, which party it is, which candidate it is, how much we like it or how much they promise for us, we've got to hold them just as accountable as the people that we don't agree with. In closing, I would hope that you will remember that this life is unfolding for your benefit. It is through your life that you evolve, that you learn, that you grow, that you become more than you are. You can accelerate that process. And it is incumbent upon those who are trying to change the world to do so, because we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard if we're going to show the others the way. This is not about me being right or you being right or anyone else getting their way. This is about creating the kind of world we want to live in. And it just ain't happening right now. But all this stuff that's happening is allowing people to see the ills that are going on and the things that are happening. So if you can encourage them to see themselves and asking by asking questions and say, well, how do you feel about this stuff? How do you feel about corruption in office? How do you feel about quid pro quo and all the other things that they do? And starting to get people to think about what it is that they believe and why they support who they do will be a good start. Because again, what we are doing is holding up a mirror so that they can look at themselves. And your work will be creating circumstances that will allow them to see the ills in society and within themselves that need to be fixed so that they have a choice. That's all we're trying to do, is give them a choice. Just like I'm trying to give you a choice. I'm giving you a choice to either go along with the game that wants to drag you into it, to make you a part of it, and to empower them to continue doing more of the same. The lying, the cheating, the stealing, the corruption, the war, the drone strikes, the economic oppression, the institutionalized racism, everything that's part of this system that we don't like is because of things that are in us that we've allowed to be there. But for us to make a stand against those things in our outer world, first we got to make a stand for what, if they still exist within us. That's what I want you to look for today. What is it within you that is causing you to support one side or another? What is it that you're willing to do to hold your side's feet to the fire? To make them be honest and open and accountable for all that they do, both good and bad. Most of all, think about your soul. Maybe you don't believe that you have one. But if you think you do, what effect does all this have upon your soul? To carry with you all of these actions where you are corrupting yourself with your own fears and desires to get something for you now, or to support something that you think is on your side. I sure hope you can sleep at night. Following this process of self-awareness will empower you to do that and make a difference at the same time. Again, my name is John Dennison. You can find me in several places on the web, missionlaunch.com, peaceoptions.com. Our corporate site is DennisonRocks.com, and of course my personal site is JohnDennison.com. If you would like to reach me, I offer a free consultation to those who have issues that they would like to discuss, and if we can help beyond that, then certainly we would like to. God bless you indeed, my friend. Go with love. I am John.